Right. I think that's a really good question in terms of what skill set or what athletically, what are the measurables for us in terms of what we're looking for from lacrosse players.
We look to get an aggregate of great athletes and great lacrosse players, and given the fact that we get 10 guys, it's some will carry more of the weight than the others.
You know, when we recruit guys, we're looking at four things primarily. We're always looking at their athleticism, we're looking at their skill within the game, we're looking at their IQ and their ability to process information.
In terms of lacrosse, obviously I want a guy that's, you know, skilled, depending on his position, you know, in relation to his position.
Just having an exceptional stick, you know, kid that just can do it under all circumstances.
I think guys that kind of fall into that category of one-trick pony, you know, those guys end up getting exploited collegiately right now. Everybody's trying to take away what the best thing that you do both individually and collectively. So
I think that the skill is probably the most important thing that I'm looking for. What is the skill level of a young man, right? Because that's not going to deteriorate in most cases. It's just going to get better.
Defensively, you want guys that can handle, you want some length, you want some toughness and some grit and just some old school meat and potatoes. But then guys also that have a cerebral side to them and they can play within a system.
Speed, I think, is relevant, but I think that combines with athleticism. So I think if I was to take one, it would just be athleticism of an athlete, because I think you can teach the skills of a lacrosse player. And as long as someone can expand himself a little bit further than just the sport of lacrosse, I think he can pick up on the IQ of its movements.
Athleticism is the first thing. Are you big, fast, strong? That's the thing that jumps off the page. I would rather take an athlete that's not a great lacrosse player as opposed to a great lacrosse player that's not a great athlete, because I believe in our ability to develop young men, and I think the things that you can't teach are the things that you should be looking for in an athlete.
I think there are some athletic traits that you can look for, whether it be speed, fast twitch muscles.
You know, those guys that are elusive are hard to guard. They create space. They get their hands free at midfield. That doesn't happen, you know, with guys that aren't elusive.
Speed kills in college lacrosse right now, so guys that got some wheels, guys that can wear a lot of different hats.
And then athletically, you know, I want to look for guys that have great speed, and if they don't have great speed, they got to bring something else to the table.
But I would say, I mean, speed and athleticism, that kind of fast twitch ability, that stands out quickly in the recruiting process. I think that to couple that with trying to find guys that can play the game fast and not just play it fast, but think it very quickly. So,
one of the biggest thing that we look for is his IQ. Really, you know, watching a kid on the field, does he know where he is? You know, whether it's defensively or offensively, is he a kid that's getting in the way? You know, does he not know how to clear space? Does he not know where to move the ball? Defensively, you know, is he sliding at the wrong times? Is he not in position? Is he not getting the ball side, inside? You know, things like that. Like understanding, you know, watching a kid and seeing if he really understands what he's doing on the field.
You know, and it's not just offensive IQ. It's lacrosse IQ. You know, a defense. You can have obviously defensive IQ and, you know, plays in the middle of the field. You know, not just being able to, you know, a kid that just doesn't put the blinders on and, you know, play in a tunnel. You know, being able to see the field, being able to see plays happen, you know, a pass or two ahead of time and try to set things up. A defenseman that knows how to play off ball, knows how to communicate, knows how to do things like that. So,
you know, offensively, we want to see guys that are able to, you know, react in certain situations and understand, you know, the situations that they're thrown into, you know, over the course of a lacrosse game.
I look for guys that play multiple sports. It means that they kind of crave athletic discipline. They like it in different ways. I also just think it creates a toughness, especially in the football playing. You know, physical sport, you're going to get hit. You got to like that physicality, and that also translates into, you know, being a physical and a competitive athlete on the lacrosse field too.
And physical play too, I think, is another aspect that I'm starting to look more and more at. You know, when we're watching kids play, are they going to throw their bodies in the mix? Are they going to, you know, not just the footwork part and the skill part and agilities, but the physical part, the toughness part, I think is something that's really becoming more of an emphasis for me.
And we always took great pride in recruiting some guys with chips on their shoulders. And
you know, we're looking for kids, getting kids from winning programs is really important.
And then the biggest thing for me is willingness to compete. You know, do they compete on a Saturday afternoon at 4:30 in a bad tournament? If they can do that, then they're going to compete when the big lights are on them.
Probably the number one trait that I think you can have is a guy who just loves to compete. And those guys, they find a way to be successful, even in sports where they're not very good at. They just find a way to make successful plays, you know, because they're competing.
I look for competitive students. I feel like if you have good grades in the high school level, it shows a level of discipline, it shows a level of competitiveness.
The good news for lacrosse guys is that there's a lot of talent out there, and this is filtering down to the club, Division II, Division III level, and more talent than we could all use. And the key in recruiting is to be happy with the ones you've got, not worry about the ones someone else got.